I spent my whole life raising my son alone, giving him everything, only to be humiliated the day he married. They laughed at me, treated me like I didn't exist, and then I found out the secret they were trying to bury. The money, the lies, the betrayal, it was all meant to keep me silent, but I wasn't done, not even close. Before we dive in, if stories about love, betrayal, and strength hit you right in the chest, hit that subscribe button. You're gonna want to stay for this one. I still remember that sound, the clatter and hum of my old Singer machine. It wasn't just sewing, it was my heartbeat, my rhythm. Every stitch held a piece of my story, the struggle, the dreams, and the quiet prayers whispered into fabric that no one else ever heard. My name's Evelyn Carter, born and raised in Brooklyn, and for most of my life I thought hard work could fix anything. I ran a tiny tailor shop on Myrtle Avenue, raising my son Ethan alone after his father walked out chasing a bigger life that apparently didn't include us. I told myself I didn't need anyone. I had my boy, and that was enough. Ethan grew up with thread in his hair and ambition in his eyes. I still see that little boy sometimes, the one who'd fall asleep across my cutting table, holding the edge of my scarf like it was a blanket. He used to whisper, "When I'm rich, Mom, I'm buying you a big house with a pool." I'd laugh and say, "Then I'll sew your curtains with gold thread." Years passed. I sold my wedding ring to pay for his college books, worked double shifts till my hands cramped. I used to dream of the day he'd come home and say, "Mom, you can rest now." Then he met Camilla Stanton, daughter of Manhattan's elite, the kind of rich who never touch subway poles. At first she was sweet, soft-spoken, called me Mama Eve, brought cupcakes, even asked me to sew her wedding dress. I stayed up for 3 nights finishing it, every bead a blessing. On her wedding day she kissed my cheek and promised, "You'll always be family." Promises, I've learned, don't always survive new zip codes. After the wedding, things shifted. Phone calls got shorter, then stopped. I wasn't invited to birthdays, dinners, anything. When I tried to visit, Camilla's mother, all diamonds and perfumes, smiled that tight socialite smile and said, "Ethan's very busy these days, dear. We'll reach out." They never did. One evening I walked past a cafe near Central Park. Through the glass I saw them, Ethan, Camilla, her parents, laughing, wine glasses glinting under soft light. For a second he looked up, our eyes met. His smile flickered, then vanished. He looked away. That single moment split my heart clean in two. I stood there till the cold wind made my eyes sting, or maybe I was crying. Didn't matter. Something inside me burned hotter than pain. When I got home, I unplugged my sewing machine. For the first time it was silent. My hands didn't know what to do without it. The apartment felt hollow, like even the walls had stopped listening. The next morning I started packing my fabric, ready to give up the shop, the memories, all of it. That's when I found the envelope. A lawyer's letter. Inside, news that Ethan's late father had left a trust fund worth $4 million, money meant for both of us. Someone had made sure I never saw a dime. I didn't cry this time. I laughed, quiet, steady, dangerous. Whoever tried to erase me was about to learn, you can't silence a woman who's got nothing left to lose. I folded the letter, sat down, and for the first time in years I felt alive. Then my phone rang. No caller ID. I hesitated, answered. And a voice I hadn't heard in decades whispered, "Evelyn, don't do it." The lawyer's office smelled like lemon cleaner and old leather, the kind of smell that tries to pretend nothing dangerous lives inside. I sat across from Mr. Harvorson, a middle-aged man with tired eyes and hands that fiddled with a silver pen as if it could calm the room. I folded the letter again, the paper creased like a map of everything I'd lost. He pushed a thin folder toward me. "Evelyn," he said soft, "this isn't clean." His voice had the weight of someone who'd seen families turn on one another for less. The trust fund was real, $4 million, the will named me, but someone had altered a page. A lawyer's stamp had been blurred, a signature slightly off, the sort of thing only a forgery or a very comfortable lie could buy. My stomach dropped like a subway between stations. I clenched my hands until my knuckles went white. I should have cried. Instead, I felt the odd lightness of someone whose numbness is finally cracking into motion. "Who would do this?" I asked. The question tasted like metal. "Someone with resources," Harvorson said. He slid a copy across. There was an annotation, a bank transfer with a name I didn't know, and an account traced to a shell company registered under a private firm favored by old money families. Stanton name, no, not the Stantons directly, but a law firm they use. My throat closed, of course. I left the office in a daze. Outside, Brooklyn was its chaotic self. a street vendor bargaining, subway rumble underfoot, rain making the pavement shine. I smiled a little, ridiculous, like I'd just found a missing button. I swallowed and laughed, brief and sharp. That laugh felt like the first stitch being pulled through fresh cloth. My first instinct was to use what I knew, people. Clients from my shop had ties. One mended a blazer for a Stanton cousin, another lady was a social coordinator at a charity gala. I'd always thought of those relationships as small talk and fit measurements. Now they were thread I could tug. If there was one thing I had, it was a network woven from kindness and countless fittings. That night I sewed late, hands moving on muscle memory. The singer hummed again. It sounded like home and war at once. I sewed a new pocket into a jacket, a sly little place for receipts for proof. My fingers hovered over the fabric and I remembered Ethan asleep on that very table, his head on my elbow, breath warm and steady. I whispered to the empty room, "I'm coming back, baby." A sob snagged in my throat and spilled out as a laugh. Funny, right? I laughed and then I wept, all in one breath. A week of quiet digging followed. Halvorsen called with formal updates. A private investigator, a wiry woman with a voice like gravel and a laugh that made you trust her, found an unusual detail. Someone had accessed the trust file from a public library terminal in uptown Manhattan the week after the funeral. A camera captured a hand, not the face. But the car parked outside was registered to a private concierge service that the Stantons used for discreet errands. Then the call came, unknown number. I almost didn't answer. The voice on the line was muffled, older, and I felt my chest do that hot-button squeeze. Evelyn. It was a voice that pulled a memory up like a stitch tugging a seam. My husband's voice years ago, blurry over cheap motel phones. I dropped the phone and it clattered on the table like a dropped needle. When I scooped it back up, the line had gone dead. I told Halvorsen. He froze for a half-beat, then held his jaw set. "That voice could be a trick," he said, "or someone who wants you spooked." His phone buzzed. He glanced, frowned, then slid the screen across. A photo of me leaving his office, sent in a text from an unknown number. The message below read, "Keep digging and you'll wake things up you can't sleep from." I felt the air thin. I folded the letter again and again until the creases were soft. For a strange, fierce second, I felt invincible and terrified in the same skin. My sewing machine hummed in my head like a metronome. My hands steadied. Someone was watching, someone powerful, and they just made the first move. The first time I saw that grey pickup parked outside my house, I thought it was a delivery. But then I noticed, the same dented door, same faded sticker that read still standing. It had been there 3 nights in a row. My heart thudded in my chest like it was trying to warn me of something. I peeked through the blinds again. The engine was running, headlights off, just waiting. At first I tried to laugh it off. Maybe it's the neighbor's kid, I whispered to myself, though my voice cracked halfway through the sentence. But by the 4th night, when the engine idled until nearly dawn, I knew it wasn't random. That morning I called the number I'd found in the pile of my late husband's old bills, the one marked with a red pen and circled twice. Carter Mason. I'd almost forgotten that name, almost. When he picked up, his voice came through low, rough and hesitant. "Is this Lily?" I froze. Nobody had called me Lily since before everything fell apart. "Who are you?" I asked, even though a small, traitorous part of me already knew. He paused long enough for silence to stretch into something unbearable. "It's me," he said softly. "We need to talk about Noah." My throat tightened. My son's name. I hadn't heard anyone say it in months without a hint of blame or pity attached. "What about him?" I asked, trying to sound strong. But my voice trembled, betraying the storm inside. "I can't tell you over the phone," he said. "I'm outside." That's when I looked out the window again, straight into the pickup's windshield. A man stepped out, older than I remembered, hair streaked with grey, shoulders heavier with years of guilt. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Carter Mason, my husband's best friend, the one who vanished after the accident, the one who promised to take care of everything. And there he was, standing in my driveway like a ghost that finally decided to come home. I wanted to slam the door, pretend none of it was real, but something about his eyes, tired, sorry, desperate, made me open it instead. He took a step forward, then stopped. "You deserve the truth," he said. "The truth," I snapped. "After all these years, now you want to talk about truth." He didn't flinch, just reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. The paper was crumpled, edges stained. My name was written in my husband's handwriting. My knees nearly buckled. "Where did you get that?" I whispered. Carter's voice broke. He asked me to give it to you if things went wrong. My breath caught somewhere between a sob and disbelief. My husband had died in that wreck. There wasn't supposed to be any message, any goodbye, any unfinished promise. And yet there it was, my name written by his hand, carried through years of silence and guilt. I clutched the envelope like it might burn me. "Why now?" I demanded. "Because," Carter said, eyes glistening, "someone else knows too, and they're not gonna stay quiet forever." My blood ran cold. "Someone else?" He nodded slowly. "You weren't the only one he wrote to." The world tilted, the edges of everything blurred, and I realized, whatever truth hid inside that letter, it was only the beginning. As I tore open that envelope, a single photo slipped out, and what I saw inside made me scream. I stared at the photo in my hands like it had betrayed me before I even looked at it. It was small, yellowed at the edges, and the faces, oh, the faces. Ethan's father, smiling casually next to a man I didn't recognize, and a briefcase sitting suspiciously open on the hood of a car. My heart thudded, cold and fast. Something about the picture felt wrong. Too staged, too deliberate. I turned it over. Nothing, just the back, plain and ordinary. But I could feel the weight of secrets pressing against me like the air before a storm. I remembered Carter's warning. "Someone else knows too, they're not gonna stay quiet forever." "Carter," I said, voice tight, "what is this? Who's this man?" He swallowed hard, eyes flicking away. I didn't know until I went through some of his old files, but this man, he's tied to a business Ethan's father used to run, and to some very bad people. People who bury mistakes permanently. I felt nausea curl in my stomach. Permanently. "Wait," I said, trembling. "Are you telling me my husband was involved in?" Carter nodded grimly. "Not just involved, they used him. He tried to stop it once, but they were too powerful. He got scared. He left things in your hands thinking maybe someday you could fix what he couldn't." The room felt smaller suddenly. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and uneven like a warning bell. All those years of struggle, all those nights I sat by the sewing machine, and now the man I trusted had been hiding not just money, but secrets that could ruin lives. I pressed my hands to my face, my vision swimming. "And Ethan," my voice barely a whisper, "he knows nothing." "Not a clue," Carter said, "and that's why you need to act carefully. One wrong move and," his words trailed off. He didn't need to finish, I already knew. I sank into the chair, staring at the photo again. Every detail seemed to taunt me. The briefcase, the men laughing, that stupid smile that hid so much. How many lies had been built on this single moment? Then a thought hit me. They want me to fail. They want me to be small, quiet, invisible, like I always was. Well, I wasn't anymore. I took a deep, shuddering breath, the kind that shakes you down to your bones. "Carter," I said, my voice hard now, steadying with resolve, "I need everything. Files, names, dates, anything that can prove what really happened." He nodded. "I've kept copies, but Evelyn, you have to be careful, they'll know you're digging." A chill ran through me. The quiet, obedient woman I used to be would have turned away, but this was war. I gathered the papers Carter handed me, flipping through them. There it was, the evidence of a crime buried under decades of wealth and lies. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about truth and justice and finally making them pay for trying to erase me. Somewhere deep inside, a fire had been lit. A fire that had been waiting for years, fueled by betrayal, heartbreak and silence. And just as I stood up determined, I heard the faint click of a camera shutter from outside my window. My blood ran cold. Someone had been watching, and now they knew I was awake. I pressed my back against the wall, heart hammering, and then I realized the person behind the camera was closer than I ever imagined. The first time I felt it, it was just a whisper in my apartment, the faintest shift of air, the softest creak of the floorboards. I froze mid-step, heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I told myself it was paranoia, just nerves. The city is full of noise. But every night after that, it wasn't just noise. Someone was moving around my life, threading themselves into every corner I thought was private. I started noticing the small things first. My sewing patterns, the ones I'd pinned on the corkboard, rearranged, my groceries slightly shifted, and the envelope of documents Carter had given me, one page missing, not lost, taken. I felt it then, the truth, someone knew I was close, Someone I trusted had to be watching me. I sat at the table staring at the dim glow of my laptop. Emails from unknown senders, vague warnings. Stop digging, it's too late. My hands shook, my chest tightened. Fear curled in like smoke, filling every corner of the apartment. But I wasn't backing down, not now. I called Carter. They're inside my circle. Someone's leaking, I whispered. My voice trembled, but there was steel in it. He hesitated. You're sure? I don't just think it, I said, gripping the table. I know it, and if I don't act fast, someone's going to disappear, or worse. He sighed. I'll meet you tomorrow. We'll go over everything. But Evelyn, be careful. Whoever this is, they're patient, smart, and dangerous. The next morning I left the apartment with a simple disguise, hoodie, sunglasses, the kind of invisible I hadn't felt in years. The city roared around me, but every shadow felt like a warning. I kept looking over my shoulder, imagining eyes in the reflections, footsteps echoing my own. Then it happened. A man brushed past me near the subway, casual, anonymous, too casual. He slipped something into my bag and vanished before I could react. I froze, heart in my throat. I opened the bag slowly. Inside, a single photo. No note, no explanation, just me in my own living room, taken last night. I dropped it, a shiver running down my spine. Someone had been inside my home. Someone had watched me sleep. Tears prickled, hot and fast, but I clenched my jaw. Rage mingled with fear. Whoever this was thought they could intimidate me, that they could erase me from my own life. Not happening. I texted Carter. They know we need a plan now. And then I realized, if they could get to me, they could get to Ethan too, or worse, use him against me. The city felt colder suddenly. Shadows stretched longer. Every person on the street a potential enemy. Every honking cab, every passing stranger a threat. And yet beneath the fear a pulse of fire, a promise. I wasn't just surviving, I was hunting. Because sometimes the shadows hide the truth, and sometimes they hide your enemies in plain sight. That night as I returned to my apartment, I found the front door slightly ajar, and a single envelope waiting inside. No name, no handwriting, just a whisper of danger and a message I wasn't ready to read. I never expected it to come from her. Mary, my longtime assistant, my friend, the woman who poured tea for me, held my hands through tears and whispered, "You'll get him back, Evelyn, you always do." Yet there she was, standing in my apartment doorway, face pale, eyes darting like she was caught somewhere between fear and guilt. I didn't know how else to tell you," she whispered, clutching a folded stack of papers to her chest. I stepped back, heart pounding. "Tell me what?" My voice shook, not just with anger but dread. She swallowed. "It's Camilla. She's been using the Stanton network to track you, every movement, every conversation. She knows about the trust, about the letters. She hired someone." The words hit me like a punch. I staggered, gripping the edge of my counter for balance. She, what? My own son's wife. Mary nodded. Tears pricked at her eyes. "I swear I didn't agree. I didn't even want to get involved. But she offered protection for Ethan if I didn't tell her you were digging into the past." Everything inside me froze. Protection for Ethan, threats disguised as favors, and Mary had carried the weight of this secret silently. I felt a mix of fury and betrayal twist in my chest. My fingers dug into the papers she held, legal documents, photographs, and notes. Notes showing the entire Stanton family scheme, fake accounts, hidden transfers, bribed officials, the crime they'd buried so carefully, right under their golden Manhattan facade. My hands shook as I realized it. The betrayal wasn't just from Mary, it was from everyone I'd trusted to protect my son, my legacy, my life. I wanted to scream, I wanted to storm out, but instead I took a deep breath, the kind that shakes your soul and steals your bones at the same time. "Mary," I said, voice low, "we're going to fix this. Together, no mistakes, no hesitation, no one knows what's coming." Her eyes widened, relief, fear, both. "I'll help you," she said, voice trembling. Good, because time was running out. The Stanton network wasn't just powerful, they were ruthless. And Camilla, she was clever. Every day I delayed, every wrong move I made, put Ethan, my evidence, and me in more danger. That night I reviewed the documents again. The buried crimes, the lies, the manipulations, it was all there. And one thing was clear, someone on the inside, someone I thought I could trust, had been forced into complicity. But they had also given me a weapon, a way in, a path to bring the truth out into the open. Somewhere in the dark corners of Manhattan, my enemies were planning their next move, and I was preparing mine. Just as I placed the files back in my safe, my phone buzzed, an unknown number, a single message. Evelyn, you're closer than you think. Stop now or everything you love dies. The night felt heavier than usual, thick with fog rolling over Brooklyn streets, street lamps casting long, trembling shadows. I stayed low in my apartment, the files from Mary spread across my kitchen table like a map of every betrayal I'd endured. I had a plan, one small, precise move that could shake the Stanton network without putting Ethan directly in the crossfire. My hands shook not from fear, but from anticipation. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe, like I could fight. The phone buzzed again. Unknown number, I ignored it. I didn't need distractions tonight. I slipped into the hoodie I had worn during my last surveillance walk, grabbed a small backpack with my evidence, and stepped into the dark alley behind my building. The city hummed with distant sirens, tires squealing, voices shouting. Every sound felt amplified in my chest. I reached the cafe where I'd arranged to meet a source, someone inside the Stanton empire who hated them just as much as I did. Someone willing to help me for the truth, not the money. Evelyn, whispered a familiar voice behind me. My heart jumped and I turned. Carter, always too calm, always precise. They know you're moving, he said, voice low. Tonight it's risky, but it's the only chance. I nodded. I don't have a choice. Inside the cafe, the shadows seemed to lean closer. The source, a disheveled man with eyes too sharp for his age, handed me a USB drive. Everything you need. Transfers, accounts, bribes, their buried secrets, but be careful. Camilla's people are everywhere. I held it tight, my pulse raced. The first strike wouldn't be about violence, it would be about exposure, dismantling them piece by piece. Suddenly the cafe door swung open. A man scanned the room, too carefully, too deliberate. I froze, my stomach dropped. He was scanning, was he here for me? Carter's hand brushed mine under the table, a small, silent signal, move. We left, ducked into the fog, every sense stretched to the edge. My mind raced with possibilities. If anyone recognized me, if anyone followed me, it could all fall apart. Back in my apartment, I plugged in the USB, the files glowing on my laptop. One by one, the evidence confirmed what I had suspected. The Stanton family had buried crimes in plain sight, money laundering, bribery, threats, the kind that could ruin lives, destroy careers, even erase people completely. A sob escaped me, but it wasn't fear. It was release, rage, validation. And then my phone buzzed again. One line, unknown number. You're clever, Evelyn, but clever women, they make dangerous enemies. I swallowed hard. Someone was inside my network. Someone was watching every move. I clenched my fists. The first strike was just beginning. And that's when I heard it, the softest click behind my apartment door. Someone had come inside, alone, silent, waiting. The apartment was too quiet, too clean, too still. My hands lingered over the keyboard, the USB drive glowing like a warning in the dark. Every instinct screamed that I was being watched, but I forced myself to focus. Then came the sound, a soft, deliberate click. I froze, heart hammering. My first thought was Ethan, but no, he was asleep at his father's place. It had to be someone else. I crept toward the door, every step measured, silent. Shadows danced on the walls, thrown by the dim streetlights outside. My stomach knotted. Someone is inside. I reached for the baseball bat I kept by the kitchen counter, a poor defense against whatever was waiting, but it felt heavy in my hands, grounding me. My breath came shallow, uneven but controlled. And then movement. A figure emerged from the corner, tall, masked, calm, deliberate, the kind of calm that makes your blood run cold. I froze, the bat didn't feel enough, my mind raced, fight, flight, or bluff. Evelyn, a voice whispered, low, familiar, twisting my gut, don't move. It was Camilla. Her presence, her arrogance, it filled the room like smoke. The woman who had tried to erase me, manipulate my life, and now, she was here in my home, uninvited. I squared my shoulders. You shouldn't be here, I said, voice low, steady, but trembling just enough to betray the storm inside. Camilla smiled, a thin, cruel line. I could say the same about you, digging into my family, snooping, stealing, you think you're clever. I swallowed hard, fighting the nausea rising in my chest. You don't scare me. She laughed softly, venomous. Oh, I know, that's why I came, to remind you clever women don't always win. My heart slammed against my ribs, but beneath the fear something else flickered. Power, determination, rage that had been building for years. I wasn't helpless anymore. I had files, evidence, and an army of secrets on my side. Camilla stepped closer. Her heels clicked against the hardwood like a countdown to doom. But I didn't flinch. I squared my stance, fingers tightening around the bat. Then, as if on cue, my laptop chimed. A message from an unknown email. Camilla isn't alone. She has allies inside your circle. I froze, betrayal again. Someone I trusted had tipped her off. Camilla noticed, her eyes narrowed. Something wrong. I smiled, sharp, cold. No, just realizing this isn't going to end how you think. The tension snapped. She lunged forward and instinct took over. I swung the bat. The crash echoed through the apartment. And then silence. I stood there, chest heaving, bat in hand. Camilla lay sprawled, unconscious, or maybe playing a game I wasn't ready to understand yet. My ears strained for movement. And that's when I heard it. The softest, most terrifying sound, my apartment phone buzzing, from inside the bedroom. I crept toward it, dread pooling in my stomach. The screen flashed a single word. Welcome to the game, EVLYN. The apartment was silent, but every nerve in my body screamed otherwise. Camilla had been unconscious, but that message, the one that flashed, welcome to the game, Evelyn, haunted me. Someone was orchestrating all of this, someone I trusted. I paced slowly, laptop open, files spread across the table. Every name, every transfer, every note, they painted a web. And at the center, someone close to me, someone who knew every move I'd make. Mary. My stomach dropped. Could it be? The woman who had warned me, helped me, cried with me. Could she have been the one tipping Camilla off all along? My hands shook as I reached for my phone. I called her, no answer. Then my apartment door clicked. My head whipped toward it, breath catching. A shadow moved in the hall. I wasn't wrong. Someone was here. Evelyn, a voice hissed. Soft, familiar, my heart jumped. It was Mary, her eyes wide, terrified, but behind the fear, guilt, pure, unshielded guilt. I didn't want to, she whispered. I swear I never wanted her to hurt you, but they threatened Ethan. I had no choice. I felt the blood drain from my face. No choice, or a choice you made. My voice shook, both with rage and heartbreak. Tears welled in her eyes. I tried to warn you to help, but Camilla, she knows everything. She has people everywhere. I didn't want you to know. I sank into the chair, trembling. My breath came in short, shaky bursts. My trusted friend, my lifeline, had been compromised. Then I realized she hadn't lied completely. There was truth in her terror, and if she hadn't been forced, maybe I could use her insight to my advantage. Tell me everything, I said finally, voice low but controlled. Every name, every move, every secret they think is hidden. I need the whole map. Mary nodded, collapsing beside me. There's a camera in your hallway. They're watching you 24/7. Emails, phone calls, your schedule, even the grocery deliveries. Camilla has eyes in every corner. I felt my chest tighten. Fear clawed at me, but beneath it, determination bloomed like fire. They underestimated me, I said softly, almost to myself. They think I'm just scared, but I've been silent too long. It's my turn. Mary handed me a folder. More evidence, names of insiders, proof of bribes and threats. The entire buried crime revealed in cold, precise detail. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of it all. Every betrayal, every manipulation, every moment of fear, it had led to this. I looked at Mary, voice steady now. We fight smart, no mistakes, no hesitation. And if Camilla thinks she can outsmart me, she's about to learn what happens when someone's cornered but refuses to be silent. Outside, the city hummed, unaware of the storm brewing inside my walls. Somewhere, Camilla was watching, confident, but she had no idea the real game had just begun. And then a soft ping on my laptop. A single, ominous file appeared in my inbox from an unknown sender. The title read, Evelyn, you're closer than you think, but so is the danger. The city felt alive tonight, but every sound was a warning. Sirens, distant shouts, the hum of neon. Every vibration in the concrete beneath my feet mirrored the tension in my chest. I clutched the folder Mary had given me, every page a thread in the tangled web I was about to untangle. I knew the first strike had to be precise. One wrong move, one slip, and everything, Ethan, the evidence, my freedom, would crumble. I parked 2 blocks away, moving through the foggy streets like a shadow. Every figure in the mist made my pulse spike. Every reflective window was a mirror, and I imagined eyes tracking my every step. Carter met me at the corner. "You ready?" His voice was calm, but I saw the tension in his jaw. I nodded, swallowing hard, ready as I'll ever be. Inside the Stanton building, the air was cold and sterile. Surveillance cameras blinked in every hallway, the faint hum of electronics like a heartbeat I could almost feel. I moved quickly, carefully, every step measured, every breath shallow. We reached the office where the accounts were kept. Carter disabled the alarm with a quiet click, and we slipped inside. My hands shook as I inserted the USB drive into the computer. Names, dates, transfers, everything lined up. Every lie, every bribe, every hidden crime, laid bare on the screen. And then the phone rang, a single deliberate ring cutting through the quiet. I froze, Carter's eyes narrowed. "Don't answer it," he whispered. But my phone vibrated in my pocket too, a text from an unknown number. "Stop now or everything burns. You've gone too far, Evelyn." A chill ran through me, but I pushed it down. They think fear will stop me. It won't. Just then the office door clicked. I spun around. Camilla, smiling, calm, predatory. She had back up, 2 men behind her, faces unreadable, shadows in the dim light. "You shouldn't have come here," she said softly. "This is bigger than you, Evelyn." I squared my shoulders. "Maybe, but bigger doesn't mean stronger." She laughed, low and cruel. "Stronger? You've been crawling in my shadow since the day you walked into my life." I felt the fire in my chest flare. Not anymore. The tension snapped. I pressed a key on the keyboard. Emails, bank transfers, recordings, all sent automatically to journalists, law enforcement, and my allies. Camilla's face went white. The tables had turned. The men lunged. Carter intercepted them, a struggle erupting in the cold office. My heart raced, fear and adrenaline mingling, but I didn't flinch. I moved toward Camilla. "Too late," I said, voice steady, almost cold. "The truth is already out." Her smile faltered. Rage and panic flashed across her eyes. I felt a thrill, pure, exhilarating power. I had been invisible too long, silent too long. And now the web was unraveling. But as sirens wailed outside and shadows fled down the hallway, I heard a single, faint whisper in my ear. "This isn't over, Evelyn, not by a long shot." The morning light spilled over the Brooklyn rooftops, but it brought no comfort. My apartment smelled of coffee and tension, the hum of the city below masking the storm inside me. I sat at the edge of the couch, files scattered around, trying to steady my trembling hands. Mary had stayed the night, quietly helping me organize the evidence. Her presence was a strange mix of reassurance and reminder of betrayal. She had been compromised, but she was also my lifeline now. The phone buzzed. Ethan, my chest clenched. I wasn't ready for him, not yet. I let it ring. Then a knock, firm, insistent. My stomach dropped. I didn't have to look. "Camilla." I opened the door just enough to see her, face pale, the calculated arrogance replaced with something raw. Fear. "I know what you've done," she said, voice tight, almost shaking. "You've exposed everything, but you think this ends here." I inhaled deeply, letting the fear dissolve into resolve. "It does if you admit the truth, Camilla, if you stop manipulating my son, my life, my family." Her laugh was brittle. "You think this is about truth, it's about power, Evelyn, and power isn't fair." I stepped forward, not flinching. "Maybe not, but it's ending tonight. The lies, the manipulation, the betrayal, it all stops here." The men who had backed her up the night before were gone, watching from a distance now. She was alone, vulnerable, and I realized so was I in my own way. The courage wasn't in the absence of fear, it was moving forward despite it. She took a step back, eyes darting around. "Do you think this will fix anything? You think you can just take it all and feel better?" I shook my head slowly, calm but fierce. "No, I'm not taking it to feel better. I'm taking it because it's mine, because I fought for it, and because I refuse to be invisible any longer." Her shoulders slumped, and for the first time she looked like a human being, not a predator. "And Ethan?" I didn't answer immediately. I thought of the years I'd spent raising him alone, the sacrifices, the heartbreak, the silent nights at the sewing machine. My eyes softened, but the fire remained. "He'll always know the truth," I said finally. "And if he doesn't, I'll make sure he understands what loyalty, courage, and dignity really mean." She looked away, defeated. The shift was palpable. The empire she thought unshakable was trembling, and it wasn't just because of law enforcement or journalists, it was because of me. Outside, the city roared indifferent, but inside I felt the first real spark of calm. A storm had passed, but this calm wasn't relief, it was clarity. And yet, just as I turned to gather the last of the files, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A single message. "The final move is coming, Evelyn. Are you ready?" The city skyline glowed through my apartment window, golden light reflecting off the buildings like a promise. I had spent years sewing my life together stitch by stitch, and now, standing in this quiet victory, it felt like every thread had finally pulled into place. The Stanton Empire had been exposed. Journalists, law enforcement, and the public had seen every secret, every hidden crime. Camilla had been arrested. Ethan was safe, finally understanding the truth, and I was free. I sank into the chair at my kitchen table, breathing in deeply. The files that had once weighed me down now felt like instruments of liberation. I smiled, a soft laugh escaping me, almost disbelief. I had done it. I had fought the shadows, navigated betrayal, and come out stronger, intact, and in control. Mary knocked lightly and entered, her face still carrying traces of fear but also pride. "You did it, Evelyn, you really did it." I reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. We did it together. Even the little things felt monumental now. The hum of my sewing machine, once a symbol of quiet survival, now sounded like victory. I ran my fingers over the fabric on my lap, feeling the texture, the memories, the struggles woven into it. Every stitch told a story, and it was mine. Ethan walked in hesitant, a mixture of awe and guilt in his eyes. "Mom, I didn't understand, I never knew." I pulled him into a hug, holding him longer than usual. "It's okay, baby, you understand now, and that's what matters. You know the truth, and you know what it means to stand for yourself, to fight, to never let anyone erase you." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I'm proud of you, Mom." My heart swelled. All the years of sacrifice, heartbreak, and silent struggle, this was the moment it paid off. But more than the victory, it was the reclaiming of dignity, self-respect, and power. I wasn't invisible anymore. The city hummed outside, indifferent and yet spectacularly alive. I had faced fear, betrayal, and danger, and I had won, not with vengeance but with intelligence, courage, and relentless persistence. And as I looked at Ethan, Mary, and the future we could rebuild, I realized the most profound truth of all. Strength doesn't come from wealth, influence, or control. It comes from knowing your worth, standing tall in the face of darkness, and refusing to let anyone diminish you. I glanced out at the city lights again, the hum of life beneath the skyline, and whispered softly to myself, "Invisible no more, this is my life, my fight, my victory." Because sometimes, the quietest women carry the loudest storms, and the world only notices when they choose to roar. If that twist gave you chills, hit subscribe. Comment how do you feel hearing the story.